Hello and welcome to the SBP Podcast. This is episode 33 and I'm your host, Susie Botello. I Don't Know. That's the name of the film created by Pamela and Anthony Bradley from San Diego that was shot with an iPhone 6S Plus and was a part of our film festival this last April. Now, Pamela and Anthony are from San Diego, and so we met with them in Rancho San Diego, actually, to record this podcast for you. So before we go there really quick, I just wanted to let you know that we just opened the call for films for the International Mobile Film Festival 2019. So you'll have to go to our website if you would like to submit a film just to read the rules. I'm sorry I'm all over the place with this. It's pretty exciting. This year we actually are including a new category, as you've heard about, the cosplay category. We also have a small business or business actually, and entrepreneurship category. But we also have some new rules, new rules. Now, they're pretty much the same as what they've always been, but we've added something which I think you're going to just actually love. That's the part that's pretty exciting. So go and check it out. It's at www.internationalmobilefilmfestival.com. You can submit your film through Film Freeway, but be sure to read those rules in detail so that you understand everything before you submit your films. And now, let's go and talk to Pamela and Anthony. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SBP Podcast. We're here in San Diego, in Rancho San Diego, actually. And we've got two awesome guests, Pamela and Anthony Bradley. They are filmmakers who came to our film festival in San Diego this last April, and they shot a film with an iPhone 6S Plus. My memory's really not that great, I had to ask. And their film was actually a community story. And there's a story even behind that because apparently they were motivated by a presentation that I did at Comic-Con in San Diego about mobile filmmaking back in 2016, and which was the first time we were there. And so it's pretty interesting, you just don't know who you're going to inspire to try something new. So if you have cool ideas and neat experiences, I should say, don't be afraid to share them with people because you just don't know. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you, Susie. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
They're sharing a mic, so it may be a little weird here and there, but I wanted to get a little bit of background from both of you. We'll start with Pamela. Sharing a little bit of background with you about your interest in filmmaking or what you do that kind of led you on this path.
Going back to April of 2016, Comic-Con of 2016, I went to your panel. And I really had no idea about mobile filmmaking or anything like that with the phone. Went to the panel because it sounded very interesting, and I thought it was something I could do. Because my son is the actual filmmaker, and I had never done anything like that, but it sounded interesting, so I went to the panel, heard Susie talk about, and not only talk about, but show the films that they did. And there were several people in the audience that were walking around. I don't remember who they were, but we're showing examples of the cameras with these cages and walking around with the sound and how it could be done. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. I think that's something I'm interested in, but really didn't know how to do it. And I researched it a little bit after that, but then it went by the wayside. But then after that, I had an idea about my mom who has Alzheimer's and how maybe I could shoot a little documentary about a day in the life of her on a mobile phone, on my iPhone. And so I talked to my son about it. And lo and behold, he shared an app with me, kind of played around with it and showed me how to use it. And I started shooting it. And that was my first adventure into using the mobile phone to make a documentary.
Anthony, what about you? What did you think about the idea in the first place when your mom came up to you and said, remember that thing we saw at Comic-Con? Or
Yeah. I was sad because I actually missed a panel. I was actually in line for something else, I imagine, because that's Comic-Con, waiting in lines. For
I can't believe anybody came to watch the thing over movie stars and things, right?
I'm sure we were roasting in the sun somewhere. But I do remember how pumped up she was afterwards, though, and she was really gung-ho about it. And then our grandmother started becoming more ill, and I think I think both of us kind of were like looking at a way to kind of deal with this, and also kind of share it, because the experience was definitely eye-opening for us taking care of her, and we both kind of like thought it was a great idea. We kind of looked at each other and we're like, hey, we should do this, and because I always love movies, and I always love making films, even when I was a kid, shooting really awful horror movies on VHS cameras.
That's really awesome, though. That's like M. Night Shyamalan used to do, yeah.
Oh, not even as good as his.
Well, when he was a kid.
So immediately, in any kind of like situation, like problem I have, like my first reaction is usually, how can I turn this into a movie? So I was thinking of that the whole time as we're taking care of our grandmother. Like, really, we should tell this story and kind of maybe help awareness of this disease that seems to be, getting, more and more widespread. So when she came to me with the idea, I was like, that's perfect. It's just what I've been thinking. So I was like, but I want you to do it, because she was so motivated by your panel, and I know how liberating and how exciting it is to shoot a movie and make a movie. And I've already had that experience, and I really wanted her to have that experience. And also the challenging aspect of it too, like the problem solving and stuff like that. And I was like, I'll edit it for you. And I did the...
Plus it's with the phone, and you're used to, the professional cameras, and you're going, well, she can handle the phone.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So. And I never shot... Well, I've had the app on my phone for like, because, as a filmmaker, you're like, oh, I heard about this app. So I downloaded it and maybe played with it a few times, shot some home movies here or there, but never really used it on the actual movie. So this is the first time my experience ever editing or working with smartphone footage.
And what app was that, by the way?
Filmic Pro.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing app.
It's the most popular app out there.
Yeah. And I got it and how I got it was like, they had it was like app of the day or whatever. I got it for like 99 cents on...
What year was that?
I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was, because I remember, I think at first they had the free version, which was great. And then they had it for 99 cents and $1.99. And then they went to $2.99, and now it's like $1 million, right?
Exactly. But it's still, for an option, it's so much cheaper than anything else out there, especially when the phone is in your pocket. Might as well pay. I think it's $10 or something now, and it's
15. It was $14.99.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just got it
just
in the last
up there
30 days. Last 30 days or so. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, well, here, let me show you this app, and then I'll show you the settings to kind of dial in as best you can, and then I was like, just kind of shoot it. And I was giving her tips throughout, because at first I was like, just kind of asking her questions as we're going along. And I was like, no, just kind of be a fly on the wall, and we'll do an interview portion later. And so we ended up doing that. So, but she did a great job. I'm really proud of her for her first movie, and to be, as touching as it was, I think everyone who sees it is, really proud of it.
So this was a community story, and the rules for that we have is that it's a story that has to be told from within, as opposed to having a filmmaker come from the outside to share somebody else's story. So you're sharing your own story at this way. And a community can be a family. It can be the community of Alzheimer's, people. It is Alzheimer's that she has. The name of the film is called I Don't Know, which was really a smart name for that film. And one of the things that people need to understand, just so that it's clear, your mom really was okay with this. It wasn't like you were, filming her and she had no idea what this was for or anything like that. Share the experience of when you told your mom, we're going to make a movie about you, we're going to do a documentary, and it's going to go to a film festival that's quote unquote international, and her reaction to that and all that, because that was a very touching part for me to know and to ensure, of course, that you had her permission, but also what it did for her.
I think she felt. We joked because we said she was going to be a movie star, and she was going to be on the big screen. And really, what we wanted to do from the inside is preserve actually the day in her life. And at the time, we explained a little bit, and I don't know how much she really understood, but that it was our way of allowing her to share with the community what it is in reality for a day in a life of a person with Alzheimer's. And it was funny because when Susie had captured, you had captured that photo of her on the screen. It's going to make me tear up now. And we showed that to her, and she said, "Who's that?" And it's you. And I said, "I told you you're going to be a movie star on the big screen." And she laughed. She thought that was funny. But just the awareness that we were sharing her story with other people.
And she saw it, right?
She's seen it several times. And, we'll bring it up and show it to her. And what's really touching is, Anthony did do the editing on it, but he also played all the music on it. So he is very talented with the guitar and the ukulele. And so that was very inspiring. And I think she just enjoyed seeing the whole thing together, finished. Yeah. As we were doing it, I don't know how clear she was on exactly... because we shot it on a couple different days,
right?
To pull it all together, to have different aspects that were happening in her day, because it was showing all together the whole day. So it was entertaining, I think, both for her and for us at times. So that was what made it special. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it made it special that way.
I was like, I think for her, she. Like when we first brought it up to her, we're like, "Hey, we're gonna make this movie about you," and she was kind of like, "Whatever, you can't make a. You're not. Who are you to make a movie? You're not Steven Spielberg. You're not." And so I think, So as we're going along, she kind of just thought it was a joke most of the time.
Plus, she grew. You said you grew up making these little films, so she was thinking you're playing.
Exactly,
right?
and I think she came to when I graduated from art school, or one of my so she knows I make movies, so but I still don't think she thinks I'm very successful. I'm not very successful at it, but But so I think to her, she's just like, oh, whatever. Okay, I'll go along with you guys. But then, yeah, I think when she, how long ago did we shoot this? It was, it's probably about a year ago. So she kind of declined since we shot it. And so now it's kind of harder to remind her of like what we're going out and doing, like, oh, hey, we're going to go watch in the big screen tonight. Oh yeah, sure. So she still kind of thinks it's a joke, but I don't think she realized how powerful or how big it is that the end product ended up coming out to be, which was really fantastic.
Yeah, and it got a good reaction from the other filmmakers and the audience as well about that story. And it's sad, but it's also, your mom's a comedian.
She is like that's one of the things that's kind of hard with her dealing with Alzheimer's, and I think that's when it started out, her being diagnosed, it was kind of hard for us to catch because she would kind of joke off these answers, like if you're like, oh, what day is it? Oh, it's Saturday, and she'll laugh, and you'd be like, oh, you're just messing with me. But then she's really kind of covering up the fact that she didn't know. And talking about the title, like the reason we named it is because that's like the one phrase that we hear the most throughout the day. You're like, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What day is it? I don't know. What's my name? I don't know. So, but yeah, and she's kind of the ideal person with Alzheimer's because she is very good-natured with it.
If there is such a thing as an ideal.
Yeah. Just being part of the caregiver community, you kind of hear all the different horror stories, and we've been kind of lucky with the fact that she's so easygoing and kind of jokes about it, and if she can't remember something, she laughs it off, So we're kind of lucky in that way, but because it's a tough thing to deal with.
She does have her moments though, where she does. But Anthony's right. She overall she is good natured, and she does cover up if she doesn't know something. Like we ask her questions all the time, and I think that's probably when Anthony did the interview part of the movie. She probably felt, oh, here we go again. He's asking me all these questions again. What is he doing? But we try to do that to keep her memory for her to use it. Yeah. And to try to keep it as sharp as we can. So we ask her every day, what's my name? What's your name? What's your birthday? What year is that? She has not once got the year right yet, but and she does cover it up if she doesn't remember Anthony's name. She'll make up a name and then she'll laugh like she's joking about it. But we think she probably doesn't know at the moment, but then it comes back. But the whole movie was really fun to put together. For me, as being a first-time person doing a movie, it was...
Yeah, you were the director, you were the camera person.
Yes.
So...
I mean, I was thankful I had Anthony to give me those... the tips to get me going.
Have you ever been on his sets before? I mean, did that help you?
Have you ever? Well, she actually acted in one of my short films. It was one we did when we first moved out here. But I don't think she's ever been on any of our big sets, like a big full movie, or where we have a whole crew. She's been on some of the smaller ones where I'm like, let's just shoot something this weekend. But she acted in one of my films, and actually, I didn't think it was going to be that popular. And it's actually one of our most popular films. But it's also very. I don't know what's the word you describe it. It has some obscene language in it.
Yeah. There's a surprise ending. Yeah. That's it.
But. Well, welcome to the film world, because sometimes what you think should be the most popular, the Oscar moment, it's like nobody cared, nobody remembered that part. It's this other part. And you're going, really? So that's pretty awesome. I wanted, first of all, happy birthday, Pamela.
Thank you.
Anthony and Pamela, what are your plans for making more films with phones?
Well, we actually, my mom, how did we come up with this idea? I was like, originally I wanted to do, I was in a karaoke bar one time, and I thought it'd be amazing to do a documentary about karaoke, people, who go out to karaoke bars, like the really good singers who show up every week who are regulars.
There's some diehard people, they do that every single weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the documentary. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do a documentary about that. And then my mom had an idea of doing a documentary about kind of like unknown bands, who kind of do the same thing. They go play like at a restaurant or a club every week. And so we kind of came together and we're like, let's combine the ideas and we'll just kind of do that. And why don't you share a little bit more about it? Because she really came up with the whole concept.
So, and I was hoping to do it this coming next week, starting in Kansas. I had a location and a musician lined up. They're both from Italy originally, and
Kansas.
Their whole story, backstory, is very interesting. In fact, the gentleman that owns the restaurant there in Kansas his wife is very involved in the film festival there, and so I'd gotten together the idea of putting together for musicians that have been playing for years in certain locations, the backstory of that musician and why do they do it? Obviously for the love of music. So I wanted to get their story and their passion for music. And then I also wanted to take it a little step further and find out about the person that allows them to play there every week and their backstory and why they have this. And then my idea was also to give a slight history about the area, maybe start out very wide with the history of the state, very basic, and then narrow it down to whatever city it is, and then the location and the musician. And so, and then Anthony had the karaoke idea, and I just think the whole thing would be fun to do. So that is still all a plan. That's hopefully happening. Like I said, I had one lined up, but out of all the weekends, the gentleman, the musician, is playing in Nashville this weekend. He's like any other weekend. So that's going to be later on this fall. But that I plan on doing now totally on the mobile phone.
And is this going to be like a feature-length film, or?
I think we were almost gonna do it as a series, like maybe like 30-minute. But we're gonna start out making like a 30-minute documentary, and then kind of see where it goes from there. And then
test it out.
Yeah, and I think she ended up like, hey, well, at first we're gonna do like a full production on it. But then she goes, I could just do this on my phone. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, it turned out because he has a schedule going on with his filming and his projects going on, and then I have work and everything coming together. That the original plan was we were going to film it, get a crew out there because he has friends out there that can help
connections
film and sound. If we needed anything to borrow, lights, that type of thing, we could do it because we wanted to set it up as an interview and then shooting the music too. And then also the area of whatever,
Well,
because
yeah,
of
it's got to be beautiful.
So we're going to put it all together. And then with Anthony's schedule and what he's working on, he's like, well, I don't know if I can go. And so I said, well, you know what? I'm a pro at this filming on this phone stuff, right? So I'm really educating myself, and with his help and knowledge, I'm hoping to try to do the first one then on my own and see how it goes. Of course, I'll ask him to help me edit it.
Now, when you made your film, what have you found out? Of course, this story sounds really good, and you're talking about using lights and all the production gear. Have you thought about using anything for the phone? Any like gimbals and things like that, or yeah?
That's what I've been doing the research on, and actually, Jason.
Yeah.
And the Film Breaker, that's where I'm getting a lot of my education, is on the workshops, the things that he's sharing on there for sound, for the lighting, and how to make it really professional.
Yeah. Well, I think in the end, the professional part is a combination of things. One of the things because I worked on videos for promotional videos and things like that professionally for many, many, many years. And when it comes to, they used to call me the B-roll queen. When it comes to B-roll, you get them from different places. If you're doing a documentary type of video, a lot of times you're getting pieces that are B-roll that are shot like home videos from people, depending on your subject. Sometimes you're getting, whoever can. You're getting interns shooting B-roll. You're getting, just anything. But when you're trying to tell the story, you'll take anything. You'll grab anything that you can to help share that story, visually and also so that you can listen. And one of the things that I learned was how to take stuff that's literally not so good at all. By itself, it wouldn't stand. It wouldn't make it. And as long as it, you take the right part of it and combine it in this way and that way, and with what it's been said for impact, that's where the professionalism comes out. And you, as an editor, this, that, you can take even some of the worst shots of the day or whatever that people are saying, we're going to have to retake this, but you're going, but you know what? I can make that work still, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I learned that pretty early on. I remember one of our projects in art school was another class shot a movie, and they're like, all right, our teacher was like, all right, now everybody edit it their own way, and we'll see what happens. And then whoever wins, because we usually have monthly screenings of the students' work. And my cut actually won that month, and I got to the screen. But it's all in the. I think professionalism is definitely, you can take anything. I don't think you can shoot it on Betamax, and you can tell a compelling story with it. That's one thing I've always been an advocate of. I have a lot of friends, who are gearheads. I gotta have the latest lens, the latest, the fastest lens, the latest camera. But I think you can tell a story through anything, and as long as you cut it the right way, or you make the images impactful for a story, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And this is not just for documentaries, because on documentaries, you're not doing take after take after take, but even especially in documentaries where things are so intense, plus the viewer already has this, well, this is real, this is going down right now, that kind of a thing. So they're more kinder to that, more open, to accepting whatever's coming into them. But with a film, sometimes people are a little
harsher.
Yeah. And that's where sound comes in. Also plays a crucial part, because I believe that, and I know I'm not the only one, that your viewer will accept a little less quality on the video, but when it comes to sound, it better be good.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What did you use for sound with your grandmother and your mom?
It's actually, most of the movie is kind of the interview narration, and we actually just mic'd her up with a lavalier mic hooked up to the phone. I'm trying to remember what app I used for the sound. I can't remember if I used just Apple's app or if I used a different one. Actually, you know what? I think I used just Filmic, whatever the meters were on there. I used. Okay. But so that kind of helped us, whereas the rest of the film is really just kind of background. You can hear her doing certain things, but mainly her answering the questions over. So that kind of helped us. But for the next project, we might have to look at.
Were you able to monitor the sound when you were using the app, even though you had the meters? But
I think so. I think I used Apple's head. I'm trying to remember what I used. What did I use? Or no, I wasn't able to. Yeah, because the lavalier.
There's I like the iRig, Pre, because I can plug in an XLR to it. You know. But the other thing is that with their app, when you're recording a video, you just turn on the app and let it go down into the bottom, and then just use the camera. And you can actually monitor the sound with headphones, because the iRig has a a jack for the headphones.
So that would have been helpful.
Too. Yeah, I when I was at Comic-Con that year, but then the year after that, I was interviewing people, and it was so noisy.
Oh yeah.
And but I was giving them the microphone, so they could have it close to them on some of them, and some of them I was holding it, and it was just crazy because had I not had my headphones on, and was not able to monitor the sound. The iRig also has a gain control on there. Had it not been for that, I don't know that it would have come out at all. But it sounded really clear and everything. But that's only because I like the meters, and I'm used to that from professional cameras and things like that. But you still need to monitor the sound.
Yeah.
There's nothing that will, that's better than that, I think. Do you on this next film that you're going to make, are you planning on using audio equipment too, or?
That's what I'm looking into and educating myself on.
For the interviews, at least.
For the
interviews, music, you can use, their own sound for the most part.
Yes, but you bring up a good point. Yeah. If it's at a restaurant.
Yeah, you'd have to plug it in, and you could use the iRig or something like that for that, because they take the XLRs, which is what a lot of the panels and mixers and all that, they accept the XLRs. So you'd probably have to plug in an XLR there. But, this, the Zoom, you can use that on a phone. We've used it for some of our workshops.
Really? That's good to know.
Yeah, we plugged it into the iRig and then plugged in the microphones through that, or even used these two mics on top. So, it's all about experimenting, to see what works. But you definitely, because you're doing music, you really do want nice, clear sound.
Oh, absolutely. And they will be playing not in a quiet location, that's for sure. And definitely for the interviews.
And now and this is good for our listeners to know, you're not limited to one phone, so you could always have different setups with different microphones set up. You can even give, people who, you can, I'm getting creative here, but you can hook up your sound to the mixer, whoever's running the audio on stage and all that. And then you can have somebody else, maybe the person that's watching it, say you're, getting dialogue from somebody watching it, you can mic them up by just having them with an iPhone and a lav or something like that hooked up separately, and then you can sync up these tracks, separately on your video editor, like on Final Cut Pro or whatever you do, and you can then mix these all together as different audio files, basically, in one film, and that'll give you the ability to manipulate everything more concisely, and you can include natural sound along with that, which always plays a big deal for setting the scene, and right. All that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I like that, and that's what I need to learn more of. What, but like you said, it's probably going to be more of experimenting.
Yeah,
with different things and seeing what works best, and I'm sure every location would be different too. So.
Well, and the phones are so easy to get by on. Really, you could go to, I don't know, Craigslist or whatever there is, or even friends, and say, hey, can I borrow some of your older phones? Because I just want to use them for audio, or for, the other cool thing about phones too is if you need extra cameras, right? Where if you're using the iPhone and you get some older iPhones, and use them as well, you could put them in different places where they're inconspicuous and get different angles of the same scene. And you can even incorporate, what people are. I'm trying to give you. I guess I'm giving a lot of ideas here.
This is great, really, and I like how you put that. People. people tend to freeze up a little more when they see this camera being set up.
Yeah.
But if you have, like you're saying, put these at different angles, put the different phones at different angles, and being able to capture so much more.
Yeah, you could get wide shots,
yes.
Of the scene. And then you can get I have a $1,500 tripod, really nice, smooth tripod. And I rarely use it. But if I'm on a set and I'm filming and I know that I can use it. I can just put my iPhone, with the mount on that tripod and get some smooth shots and stable shots and use that even for an interview, as opposed to, the Gorilla Pods and all that are great when you happen to be out because they're so easy to carry. Also, as soon as you use a tripod anywhere in public, people think that's it. You need a permit. It's ridiculous. Even if you're not being obtrusive, which is what the whole purpose of that was, right, in the beginning. But say you're at a restaurant or something like that, and you want to have a sturdy tripod or something like that, you can always use, which is it looks silly though. It looks like, here you have, 10-pound tripod or something like that, and you've got this little iPhone sitting on top.
On top of it.
Yeah.
I like it. Great ideas. Thank you, Susie.
You're welcome. Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience which may benefit them as far as, because I'm really interested in more people doing the community stories because everybody has a phone. So to me, it's ideal that more people start to share their own stories from their point of view, as opposed to having somebody else try and share their point of view of that story, because it's never going to be the same. Is there anything that you could say to that?
The thing I would say to it is the phone, since we do have them in our pocket, in our purse, wherever, and we have them all the time, that wherever you get inspired to tell your story, why not? Why not pull it out and do it? Even if you're just doing the audio part of it to get it out, and then later putting the video to it, there really is no excuse not to be able to tell your story and be impactful, especially with community topics. Because when you feel it and you're in the moment, why not express it then? And we have no excuse really not to anymore, because we don't need a big production. We just need to have what we already have in our pocket.
One of the, speaking of your grandmother and you're the grandson, one of the things that I like to share with people is that, we have the younger generation and the older generation, and there's such a huge disconnect. And a lot of times disrespect, non-appreciative, grandkids with their grandparents. They don't see them in the way as they were in the day. Grandpa could have been a hero, but, he's 80 years old now or something, and, the most he does is mow the lawn, right, as far as they're concerned. And they're like, they don't see that. And so one of the themes of community stories that I like to share, especially in community centers and in schools even as a topic, is to have kids, gladfully use their phones, right, which they love, to share a community story with their schools. This, and so they're interviewing grandma or grandpa, right, that third generation, right? And they're interviewing them and asking them questions, very simple questions in the beginning. Well, what did you used to do? And what was your favorite part when you were younger, and things like that. And then the stories come out. And then those kids are going to start looking up to them and saying, whoa, grandma or grandpa were like, they were exceptionally awesome, not necessarily in those words. But then they're going to see them and then they'll pull out family photos and family movies and things like that they can incorporate as B-roll, right, in that story. And they can start to really connect themselves with the third generation, with their grandparents in a way that's better. And I think that that relationship, connecting those, I think, honestly, I think that would be a really good benefit for society as a whole, as we have, especially here in this country, where we tend to do the thing not because they're sick or anything like that, just because they get old, where we put them in a retirement home as opposed to bringing them into your home, because there's a disconnect sometimes even with the kids and stuff like that. But maybe that might be helpful.
I think that's a great idea. And our family is a little bit different because my parents actually helped raise my kids.
Aww.
In fact, when my dad passed away, it was my oldest son's first day in graduate school.
Wow.
And he walked up to the professor and said, "My grandfather just passed away. I know it's the first day, but can I go?" And the professor said, "You did say your grandfather, not your father." And he goes, "Yeah, but you don't understand." And it because they were close. And so my kids have a little bit closer connection probably to my parents. I would even say more than I did growing up. So that's, I think what you're saying as a community, to have kids interview, not only grandparents, maybe even parents. Because how many times do kids start growing up, especially when you're like 9, 10, 11, what do your parents do? A lot of times
they don't know.
Don't know.
They just go somewhere and they come back.
Yeah, right? So I think that's a wonderful idea. And to do with parents, grandparents, if they're around, and just to create that connection. And like you said, especially in the United States, because we don't have that family sit-down time or family dinner time as much as maybe they do in other countries. I think that's
There's
so
a lot of
impactful.
complaining that I read about actually now, and stories I hear even in the media about all these young kids are just on the phone all day. They're just doing this. I mean, regardless of the generation, there's always a complaint, right? Yeah. But the thing is, like, you go through youth, it's all about you for the most part. And it still can be. It's you making a movie, you making a documentary. You are researching this. And you can relate it to yourself because this is somebody from your family, and they can do that with even their own community outwards, like, go and interview the guy that owns your favorite pizza shop, and he might tell you these wonderful stories. I've heard awesome stories from the plumber that came to fix the sink. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are awesome stories out there, and sometimes all it takes, I've yet to ask, I ask people, like, I'll go to the store or something, and they'll have something there that I'm totally unfamiliar with, and I'm just naturally curious like that. What do you do with that? What is that for? And they actually, I've never had somebody look at me and say, "What do you need to know for?" Never has anybody done that. On the contrary, they're excited that you're asking and you want to know. You think that's cool. What is that? And you know what I'm saying? And so just that act of saying, "I'm reaching out to you, I want to hear your story."
It's just asking the question.
Yeah, yeah. And you get these awesome stories, and you see people light up. Like when I go to Starbucks or something, and I'll say, make a comment, and people are eager to share their story. And next thing you know, you're probably just waiting 5 minutes. But you've just, and to me, everything's a movie. So when someone shares a story, I visualize everything in my head, and it's like, wow, that would be such a cool movie. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, this person is the main character of this movie, and it's their life, it's their little story. And they'll bring up, well, when I was a kid, blah, 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 and this and that. And I will say something to that, and next thing you know, I find out that their father was a general for this, and they were in this war, and their mother was a nurse, and the blah, 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 and their sister was, an author, a book author, and, all these neat stories. I mean, they're just all around us. They're everywhere, And that's, with your story itself, I don't know how you felt like, well, maybe this isn't a good enough story for a film festival. Did you even think that?
I think I did at first. I don't know if Anthony did, but I wasn't sure because I just wasn't sure how people would take it. So yeah, I did have that.
And then you saw the reaction.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa.
Yeah, it was good. I'm very happy with, as far as the film itself, I was happy how it turned out, but I didn't know how other people would, I guess, respond. So yeah, the reaction has been very positive and encouraging to do more.
There, yeah. You inspired yourself.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Once I cut it up, I was like, I really like this. I still wasn't sure if, and usually I'm not that way when I edit something. Usually I hate it. I never want to see it again. And then I'll warm up to it like a year later. But this one I enjoyed mainly because it was our story, so it was kind of nice to share that. And
what were your expectations? Now, be honest with the phone.
Mine were very low.
Yeah. That's what I gathered when you said, hey, you know what? I was surprised.
And also, I love my mom, but I'm like, I don't know. We'll see what kind of shots she gets. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I get the footage. And I ended up turning out to be something pretty. I'm very proud of. I would rank up there with any of my other films. So I really like it.
She actually had a whole body inside the footage. It wasn't cut off or anything like that.
Yeah. I was expecting some of our old photos from childhood. Heads cut off, a thumb over the lens.
Actually, I think it's in our genes now. After so many generations of watching movies and films, I've seen footage here and there from YouTube that maybe a little kid would get. And they frame it. They know how to frame because they're watching so much of it. They don't need to learn how to do that. They automatically know what they see on the phone is like what they see on the phone when they're watching. That's the cool thing about smartphone filmmaking, basically, is that when you're framing something, like with a regular camera, especially for television and all that, for the screens. But for this, you're seeing the camera, the display, right, on the phone is the same one that the same one that you use for viewing videos is the same one you're viewing the footage that you're recording. As a matter of fact, there's times when I'll record something and then I'll be walking, or I probably shouldn't admit that, but I do okay. I haven't tripped. Watch me run into a light pole today. And then I'll watch the video, and I'm like, I forget that I'm watching it. I feel like I'm recording it, and I'll move it up like, oh, wait, I recorded this. I'm not recording now, that kind of a thing. And so I think that aspect of it is very unique. I don't hear enough people talking about that, but I think it's really unique, and I think that's what helps, kids,
Yeah, I never thought about that. That's like the perfect film school right there, is just watching stuff on your phone, and then you can mimic it, you can even do shot for shot if you wanted to. Yeah. Like the same movie you're watching on your phone, you can go find a similar place, line up your actors or your friends the same way and do it. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, well, I know in college, one of the things, I remember some of the homework, it's like, go and watch these movies and then analyze them, and see how they did and tell us how they did this and why they did that and how it makes you feel, and all that stuff. And then go out there, and I remember one of my first classes with the cameras was like, go somewhere and get 3 wide shots, 3 pans to the right, 2 tilt shots, 2, and I was like, this is so boring. You know what I mean? But then, and now edit it together and try to make something cool out of that. I was like, are you kidding me? Good thing I went out and got a park, with some cool trees and, people walking by or something, do follow shots, things like that. But you can literally do that with the phone anywhere,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I was very. I love movies, growing up, and we would go maybe every couple of weeks, and whenever it was, I would be obsessed with that movie. So like Jurassic Park, I'd be obsessed with.
That
Jurassic.
was an awesome movie.
Dick Tracy, I'd be Dick Tracy for like 2 weeks. If I had a phone now, I would probably just try to recreate all the movies, and I probably would learn a lot more doing it that way. So that's what's awesome for the next, what's the next generation of filmmakers going to be like. They're going to be so well versed in shots and everything.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
That's my thing, is like I want to see people. We grew up with photos. I was saying that to in our last podcast. We grew up with photos, and it was all about photos. But I want people to not just do what they're doing today, which is shoot little video clips. I want them to shoot stories, to take those clips when they're recording stuff and think story, like beginning, middle, and end, and to try and structure everything like that so that when you go to YouTube or something like that, you're not just seeing, like we're at the Rancho San Diego Library, and there's a window across from me. And so I could be recording the person that's there picking up books and going through some pages and putting it down. How about I shoot a story of that? She comes out of the car, right? And she's having a bad day, and she comes over here, and she's going to make this up as I go. She's sifting through books, and she's seeing all these,
she's
colorful images.
And
next thing you know, she smiles as she's, checking out the books, and she's back in her car, and she came out angry and upset. She's getting back in her car, and she's practically dancing. She's so happy.
There's like a million. You can do an action movie where she's coming in and she's frantically looking for a book and is taking one of the carts. You can do. Yeah, there's no excuse now, like, whereas, back when you're like, I don't have a camera, I can't really film anything.
Yeah.
Whereas, now you can, I would say just don't be afraid to shoot stuff. I do it all, and I'm probably the worst looking person when I go to the beach, because I'm originally from Kansas, so I'm still getting used to the beach. So every time me and my girlfriend go out, I use my Filmic Pro app, and I shoot tons of footage, and I have like so many, and I'm like, I'm going to edit together one day and have like these nice little short
like
family
a montage
films,
or something, yeah. Well, yeah, and then also you're a musician.
Yeah.
So you can incorporate those. You're basically gathering stock footage.
Exactly.
For your future films.
That gives me a good excuse next time I'm at the beach.
Well, and everybody's recording. It's not like it there's a difference between pulling out a camera and recording.
Yeah.
And doing what everybody expects you to do, which is record.
Yeah.
Everybody's on Instagram, so you're either shooting a photo or you're shooting a video. And I know I've had people say, is that a video or a photo you're recording right now? Because they don't know what to expect because it's become so common.
Yeah.
And I really love that in our culture today, where it's okay, it's to be expected. Just like, remember when the Bluetooth ear things, and you'd see people walking around, they're doing all these hand things like I do. I use my hands when I talk a lot. And, blah, 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 and you're going, so did that person, are they just talking to themselves?
Yeah.
What's going on there? And they felt awkward. They didn't realize that they were doing that, and then they'd see somebody else and going, oh, my God, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
Where now you expect it. It's everywhere. You can have a conversation with yourself literally in the car, and people think, oh, she must be talking on the phone.
That's why there's no excuse to get footage, and you can get footage and you can try to, make a story out of it anywhere. That's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, and I think you will start seeing. Well, you had the young lady. She was 12
she
or
was,
11.
Yeah, no,
11,
she was 11.
When she shot at 12 at the.
Well, yeah,
12, right?
And the thing is that last year she shot her first little motion. Her it's like made out of the stop motion film, and she was 11. But when I met her was the year before, where she was 10, and she, she was inspired too because her father, Anthony De La Cruz, and we're talking about Miranda Jane Mullins.
Yeah.
She came, to support her father, who was in our film festival. That was the first time that he was in a film festival. He made a cool music video, by the way. And he was on there at the Q&A panel. And he was talking about his experience and everything. And I said, and I knew his family just happened to be sitting right behind me. And I was asking questions from the audience. And I said, well, and I turned around to her and I said, if you make a movie, I'm trying to get more kids involved. So if you make a movie with your phone or with a phone, and it's good, you'll be up there with your dad next year. And I'll put your film on the big screen. You can be a part of the film festival. And she was 10 years old, and I had no idea whether she was going to do it or not. But I am always hoping, just like I'm telling you, you just don't know who you inspire, And sure enough, last year, she took that to heart. And so she did. She made a little film. And she's already got plans for next year. She said she's going to do a comedy.
She was saying that, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a really, really awesome world we live in. Do you have, I know you have this one idea, but now you probably, your brains, both of you, right, are going, like for you, Anthony, you're a professional, filmmaker.
Yeah.
And now you realize, with your phone, you can literally make any movie you want to without having to worry about funding and being tied down to somebody's how you should market and all that stuff, And so what is your impression of this as a potential and opportunity for you?
It's freeing. First of all, that's like the because one, I found we just shot a short film on the smartphone, like a narrative short film. And it's just time-wise, I love it because it's so easy, like, to get your takes and stuff like that. And it's also easy to do reshoots right away. You can be like, oh, well, like we were saying earlier, you can play back right as you see it on your phone. And you'd be like, oh, well, I didn't like the way this looks, so let's go back and shoot it right away. Whereas, before, you kind of have to plan out your reshoot days and stuff like that. And also, everything just seems to take forever, on a film set. But just shooting with the mobile phone, everything just goes much faster. It's much easier. It's easier to keep, the actors and stuff. The levels high. They don't get kind of bogged down.
And the settings too, because on a camera, like we both know, you need an external monitor because everything you see through the LCD on the camera doesn't match, and then you have to calibrate everything, all the settings. Where on this, you don't really even need a white balancing.
Yeah.
It just it's so consumer friendly. It's all incorporated in there for the most part.
And especially with the new digital cameras, everybody shoots really flat. So everything, if you're looking on a monitor that's just kind of like coming straight out of the camera, it's going to look gray. And you're like, oh, well, in post, they'll color it. And you kind of have to hope for that. Whereas, now you can see all your colors on there. And you can mess around with them and all this stuff like that. You don't have to wait for post. You can kind of, and I know there's ways around that with digital cameras too. You can put LUTs on a monitor and stuff like that. But
that's time consuming.
That's time, yeah. Another time consuming. Whereas you're ready to go on the mobile. But yeah, because one of the worst things I don't like on a set is when you're grinding through 8 pages and you're getting towards the end. Everyone's just I haven't had that experience yet shooting with the mobile phone where everybody kind of just starts getting tired and stuff like that, waiting for the camera to be set up because it's even I shot with a tripod too, and the little pistol grip, so we shot on both.
Cool.
And it was easy. It's
pistol grip. I like that.
Yeah. It was easier to do your setups that way than having to you got this big camera that you have to switch out these heavy lenses and everything's very expensive, so you got to be very careful
insurance
and all stuff like that.
I don't know how much you pay for insurance on your phone, but it's like $10.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's one of the things that's freeing is being able to move quicker and being able to focus more on the story. Whereas before you're kind of waiting for the other departments to get their stuff together, and you're trying to work with your actors and you're trying to let them be patient and still be in the in the story. But so that's one of the things I love about mobile filmmaking.
Yeah, and that's one of the keys that I'm trying to tell more of our listeners who are making a lot of mobile films because they're basically they're going out to buy gear so they can test it, and then they're making films with that, and they're submitting those to film festivals and things like that. And I'm like, wait, hold on here. Remember, you really don't need anything like this. You know, you can get away with a lot of creative stuff and anything like a pistol grip.
Which, by the way, was awesome.
Yeah.
We got those at the film festival, and I use mine every day because I do a lot.
If you go to photosafariproducts.com, to our listeners, you'll see some of the stuff he has. He's not making or selling those anymore, so I'm running out of those now, but basically it has a handle that looks like a pistol handle, basically, and then it has the most typical everywhere you see.
It's on a selfie stick. You know,
yeah,
but
everywhere.
it's a little bit more heavy duty than on the selfie stick.
Yeah, because it's one of the earlier ones, and now they're just chilling. They sell those now probably at 99-cent stores, but you can use anything for that on that. But I like those because they have a firm grip on them. But in any case, that's what we're talking about here. And so, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to add one thing because I forgot that Anthony and Amy had shot that movie.
Yeah.
But she got inspired to write that script after the film festival.
Nice.
So she went home. In fact, it was that next day, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she actually has written 2 more, so she wants to go shoot 2 more, and specifically for mobile too. She I think one of the reasons is because somebody like her who is creative. She loves to write, but is kind of intimidated by all the gear and stuff like that. Or especially when she gets around me and my filmmaking buddies, and you start saying all these code words or lens names, and she's like, "What? I have no idea what you guys are talking about." So it kind of gets these people whose stories maybe wouldn't have been told before because they were intimidated by, the film professionals. Were
just the terminology alone is scary. It's like, and plus it sounds boring. It's like knowing. It's like I love to write. I really do, and I write well. Okay, but ask me, verbs and nouns and adjectives, and I'm like I've always been so turned off by that. But I can write grammatically correct. I'm really great at spelling and all that stuff. But don't ask me about those things and those rules. Just like rules, I just don't like rules.
Exactly, and that's what's nice about mobile filmmaking is that you don't have to follow the rules. And so it gets somebody like her involved where she can tell her stories, and I'm excited because I've always wanted her to. We've always made movies together, but she's always kind of been on the set helping out and stuff like that. I've always wanted to see her creative side, and so it's really exciting for me.
So does it help the relationship building part?
I think it does. I mean, being on film sets sometimes gets frustrating with us. I'm sure I'm not the easiest person to deal with, but
there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure.
But the end result is definitely more rewarding, seeing it come together. And I'm trying to show her how to use an editing program too, and I'm sure she's getting.
Well, and there's one thing when you're editing for somebody else's project as opposed to your own.
Yeah.
Where you can. Just transitions between scenes or something. They all have a different purpose and effect.
Yeah.
Just testing those out where you could just drag them in so easily and go, oh, what does this one do? Oh, you know what? On that other piece right there, I could use this one, and then I can use it for that and then have this effect. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
Are so awesome now on just in editing.
Yeah.
Not even to go into in production, right? Where you're like, I can shoot it from this angle. Well, let me test it over here, and you literally just walk over instead of grabbing that whole camera.
Well, actually, on our short film that we did recently, that was one of the things I was kind of excited about. I get to do camera moves that I normally can't do because I have to rent a jib or something like that for it. And so I was telling her, just grab it. I was just kind of zoom towards me, and like we got some really cool zooms and stuff like that. And that's what's exciting. Yeah, you don't have to have all this big equipment. You have to rent. You have to have somebody who knows how to run it and somebody to pull focus and stuff like that.
And there's so much to the whole process of it, even storyboarding.
Yeah.
Because in storyboarding, you want to have that, but then at the same time, part of the purpose for that is so you don't have to, dismantle a whole set to get it from another angle. You have to visualize everything ahead of time, but then you get there and
then it looks different, and you get
and there's so many things like that they're not mentioned in this process of mobile filmmaking, but it all touches on that, you know.
And it's very freeing because you have an idea in your head of how you want it to look, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, well, it's totally different. But you kind of still have to stick with the plan because that's what we budgeted for, but with mobile filmmaking, it's literally you can just take the camera and just move it over there.
And you send somebody out for the location scout, right?
Yeah.
And for our listeners, that's somebody whose job is basically to find locations for your film. And they do more than just check out a place and look and say, oh, this one's nice.
Yeah.
But it's so cool to be able to do that yourself where you can go there, you're going, I saw it on this day and it was great. But you know what, the weather right now, and I've heard they're building stuff, whatever it could be. You go there the day before and you do some practice runs with your phone.
Yeah, even maybe not using it as the end result camera, but using it as like a pre-production and storyboard. I mean, I got this new app that I haven't worked with it yet. I can't remember what the name of it though. It's gonna kill me. I'm sorry.
Well, when you get it, we have notes on our podcast. You can send it.
But they actually have I can't remember if they're 3D models or maybe they're 2D models of like actors. You can it's like a viewfinder. It's like a director's viewfinder, so you can plug in your camera and your aspect ratio, and you can go to a location, and it's kind of like a augmented reality.
Yeah, AR is awesome.
Yeah, so it scans the floor, and you can place furniture where you want. You can put your lights where you want. You can put your actors where you want. And they have a free version, and they do have like a more expensive version, which I think is like $30. But
what?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy for an app. I know, but for the amount of for pre-production work is just amazing. Just to be able to go and literally place, you don't have to have to know 3D graphics and stuff like that to do previs and stuff like that. So it's kind of awesome that's right on your phone now.
That's amazing. Yeah, apps are pretty awesome. What is your take on the freeing part for you?
Well, for me, since I'm not big into the lingo of all the technical stuff, the cameras and such. In fact, he usually at the beginning was borrowing my camera that I don't.
Oh yeah. We
have that I don't use that much, just because I don't know what I'm doing. And what's freeing for me is I know what my phone can do. And I know I shoot live all the time. I do Facebook Lives all the time for my business. So shooting a movie is just the next step. So it's very freeing for me to know all the settings on a camera. And that's just probably never going to happen.
What camera do you have, just so that we...
Well, she's talking about when I was starting out. I can't remember what kind of cameras we used in film school, but they're Canon something. They're digital. And then when I got out of film school, I wanted to make short films, and so she had a Canon 60D, and I was like, "Can I borrow your camera?" Because I knew how good it looked at the time. It was like the DSLR, boom. But now I use the Blackmagic cinema camera, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah. It's costlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a little game. I don't want to forget about this.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard any of the podcasts?
No, I was going to listen to one yesterday, and it ran out of time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to them, especially with
you don't have to. It's not a requirement.
Especially with some of the people we met here, though. I would love to, because that was one thing about the film festival that was.
Yeah, you
amazing.
Guys had to leave, unfortunately, but we had that podcast there. You really need to listen to that, because we had the Battle of the Phones with Brian Hennings and Norel Nash. That was awesome. Yeah. And you guys would know, because you guys were like friends hanging out with each other all day long, that apparently they were teasing each other all day about. I had no idea until they were doing that. They did a little bit during the Q&A. But it was just like, for me, it was like, oh, they're just doing this thing. But apparently that was a thing throughout. So that's pretty awesome. this little game that we play is, I call it the shout out game. And so basically, what I would like, I do have one question for you though, on your business. You said you have a business. Why don't you promote your business a little bit, just for a couple minutes here, because it's interesting.
It is interesting. It's a business I'm building. Actually, by day, I'm a paralegal. Very different than what I do in the evenings and on weekends.
That's what I was going to do before I got into this.
Really?
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for 21 years.
Wow. You could just be a lawyer now.
22 years. I did go to a year of law school. But at night, I'm a success coach, a high performance coach, which I help people just become better in their health, in their fitness, and in everything, really. Relationships, their business. I particularly work with entrepreneurs that are just wanting to scale up and do better every day in every way. And so that's what I do.
I like that slogan. Do better every way and every day.
Yeah. And actually my tagline is Live, Rock, Fit. It's live your best life, rock your passion, and fit with purpose and intention in all you do.
Rock on.
Yeah.
Now, you can make professional promotional videos now for your business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I know. I just have to find the time of the day to do it.
So in this shout out game, I'm going to give you 20 seconds to do a shout out. And I'm trying to think of what you guys, but because you're a mother and son, I'd like to kind of have you guys kind of take turns, just do them fast at bands that you like. Let me see. Oh, okay. I'd like to know the differences or the connections between what people each likes. Yeah. So are you guys ready to do this?
Sure.
All right. Get set. Again, it's only 20 seconds, so you each have to jump into the mic there really fast. And go.
Tom Petty.
The White Stripes.
Guns N' Roses.
The Killers.
I feel like pressure's on. The White Buffalo.
Beatles.
Hollywood Vampires.
R.E.M.
Ariana.
U2.
It's funny when you're under pressure how you go blank.
That's pretty awesome. Hey, that was one of the funnest ones I've done so because it's two people just going in like that.
I feel like I won for some reason.
Yeah.
I was just like, I couldn't even think, what is that? Roses, Guns N' Roses.
I like everything you guys both said, pretty much. And then I could throw in more myself, but I won't. That's pretty awesome. Well, hey, listeners, we're gonna share links to your website. You have a website?
What is it? It's actually PamelaBradley.mykajabi.com.
Okay, spell Kajabi.
Kajabi.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kajabi means what is that?
It's actually the site.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. And Anthony?
aircapitalproductions.com, and that's capital with an A.
Okay. Yeah. Capital A.
Yeah. A lot of people spell it CAPITOL and it's TAL. Yeah.
Air capital.
Cool. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So we'll have you guys will send us some links and stuff like that too. Yeah, for our listeners. And then you can follow Anthony.
You can follow me on Facebook, Air Capital Productions. On Twitter, it's at Air Capital Pro. And on Instagram, I think it's at Air Capital Productions. And you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Anthony Chords, CHORDS, like a guitar chord, because I'm musical.
Because you're a multi-talented artist. Plus, you're a scientist because, you got to know all that stuff for how to run a camera.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Or an engineer.
And my main page is Facebook, and it's at Live Rock Fit. I am on Instagram and Twitter a little bit, but Twitter is Addie Fitness, and Instagram is Pamela to be me.
Wow! And does your mom have her own Facebook too, or?
I wish that would be amazing.
Follow your mom.
We should.
Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. That would be the status update. Yeah.
That would be funny, actually. So listen, listeners, follow these guys And because you're going to find out that they're putting together and they're working on some things. And they could probably reach out to you if they have questions and they need inspiration, especially to Pamela, right, as an entrepreneur. And if you need some technical answers for Anthony. Thank you guys for coming out to our podcast today.
No, thank you very much for having us.
Yes, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, and thank you for being a part of the mobile film community in San Diego and connecting with all those. What did you think about connecting with the filmmakers?
It was amazing. It was awesome meeting filmmakers from all over the world too, and it was probably one of the best group of people I've met at a film festival. So that's what I loved it.
Yeah, I know we keep saying that to Susie, and I don't think she really believes us, but we do mean it. It was just a great time. The whole weekend was a great time. Unfortunately, we had to leave early on some of the days because we do have my mom with Alzheimer's that we care for, but just a great group of people. And if I just want to inspire somebody, as a person that never had shot a film before, to just get up and do it. Share your story, whatever it is, whether it's a community story, whether it's something you have been wanting to write. It doesn't even have to be that long. Just do it. And Susie has been the biggest inspiration going back to 2016 for me, and I'm so thankful that she does what she does in promoting this to help people that don't know what's possible for them. Because life is really about possibilities, and there are so many creative people out there that don't even realize how creative that they are. And so thank you, Susie, not only for having us here today, but for everything you do for this mobile movement. And I appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Way to make me blush.
Sorry.
All right. And we'll see you guys in our next podcast. And by the way, we're opening for submissions on June 19th. So probably when you get this, we'll be opening. And so submit your films. I believe the deadline for the shorts is November 19th. But don't hold me to that. Go to our website and find out, www.internationalmobilefilmfestival.com, and find out about the rules and the deadlines, and how to submit your film. And there's a neat little Easter egg, I should say, surprise in the rules for this new film festival coming up, but you'll have to go to the website and read about it. All right. Bye, guys. Okay, wait, hold on. Before you leave us, on Twitter, if you go to @SBP Podcast on Twitter, you should follow us, and we'll follow you back, and let's connect there. One of the things that I just did yesterday was I posted a poll on Android editing apps, and that's for those of you who have an Android phone. And the reason I did that is because there's a lot of talk about the iPhone, and I'm trying to balance this out a little bit so that all you listeners who are using Androids can learn and, empower yourselves making movies with your phones just as like anybody else. And I know a lot of you are doing that, but some of you may be wondering, well, there's a lot of talk about the iPhone. What about Android? What can I use for the Android? So here's the results of the poll, okay? The choices were Filmora Go, Power Director, and Adobe Premiere Clip. And the winner, 75% of you or our followers or whoever saw this tweet voted on Adobe Premiere Clip, which was the winner. And then second, which was 25% of the votes went for Power Director. So that's it. There you have it. So if you want to know which is the most popular for, I'm sure a lot of reasons. The Adobe Premiere clip is the winner. And if you follow us, let us know, tag us and let us know that you heard us on this podcast, and we'll give you a shout right back and we'll retweet you. And we may give some shout outs here in the podcast to some of you very soon. Just trying to, do some fun stuff with the podcast as well, and give you guys chances to be, a part of it, even in not just online, but in the podcast. In any way, shape, or form, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week.